Welcome to our first podcast series, What We Want and Why. I'm Naila Hussain Chaudhry, host and co-founder of Pillars for Dignity. Pillars for Dignity is a nonprofit organization supporting underrepresented women and girls who face social and economic challenges. Our commitment is to give them economic empowerment, dignity, and sustainability through our programs and trainings of life skill trainings, technology training, economic empowerment programs, Lotus Credit, which will give access to finance, housing, wellness, and health programs. P40 is supported by a visionary leader and an angel investor. Looking at the present condition of the world, where dignity, humanity, and peace are at stake, we have actually fallen behind in our commitment with UN Sustainable Development Goals during the pandemic. Women and girls have been harshly impacted due to the domestic violence, economic disparity, and gender equity. Human values and dignity are really at stake, and we have to nurture them each and every day. Empowering people with a sense of purpose, dignity provides emotional strength, self-esteem, peace, and optimism. It's true for individuals whose dignity is at stake because of economic and social conditions. Our podcast will cover thoughtful discussions, inspiration and solutions, honest, encouraging, and candid stories by women addressing social issues. With compassion and empathy, subjects such as domestic violence, mental health, mental abuse, increasing awareness of human trafficking, to hearing life stories from unrecognized heroes. Today, let us give a warm welcome to our speaker, who is none other than Farah Ahmed, co-founder and president of Pillars for Dignity. She's a seasoned project management and change management senior professional, philanthropist, change maker, entrepreneur, and a compassionate leader, awesome mother, and a loving daughter. It's my pleasure to welcome you, Farah. When you accept a mission to uplift others, the goal is commendable. It has a lasting positive effect on you and others. So please share with us your personal journey, mission, and purpose going forward.
Thank you so much, Naila. That was such a warm, and I'm so grateful for the kind words. It really, truly means a lot. So I can start a little bit by telling you my story. And like you said, I think our objective here is to provide a platform, an open and honest dialogue for women such as yourself and myself, and many of the change makers that we plan to bring onto the podcast to share their own stories and what they faced when they went through certain adversities in life and challenges. So with that, my story is nothing extraordinary. Like you said, I'm a mother of two children, 14, almost 14 and 11. I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend. And a couple of years ago, went through a life-changing moment sort of for me and my family. And without going into the specifics of that, it was uncannily familiar and similar to what my mother experienced almost 3 decades ago. And she went through a divorce. She is a single mother. She unfortunately wasn't given an opportunity or able to pursue an education. After high school, she migrated to Australia. And back in the 70s, that was such a daunting thing to do. My mother was almost 17. She was in a traditional arranged marriage. Yep. And my family's from Bangladesh. I should have started by telling you that. So I was actually born and raised in the UK. And fast forward, when I was 14, moved to Sydney, Australia, where my father had a job there as a physician. So when my mother and I and my sister moved here to the United States, things were very different back then. I think there's still a lot of social stigma, especially in the South Asian community, when a woman decides to separate and then eventually divorce from her husband for multiple reasons, whether it's to do with infidelity, whether it's to do with abuse. And as we know now, I think there's a lot more knowledge and education available that there's so many levels of abuse. There's a plethora of different types of abuse. What we know, the traditional domestic abuse, physical violence, sexual violence. It's more than that. It's emotional and mental abuse. So there's a full gamut of varying levels of abuse. And so when we first moved here, yes, my mother did face some prejudice. Being a single mom, especially in the South Asian community, you're sort of almost, I hate to say it, but shunned or judged by your own community. Unfortunately, I do feel that still exists. Society and cultural norms are still very much set in patriarchal ways. And I think it's our job as change makers, my daughter, my son, and those generations that come after us to sort of challenge the norm, to change that traditional way of thinking, because I think change is inevitable. And as humans, we evolve. And so those societal norms must also evolve. So coming back to where I am now, you know, Nyla, when you and I got connected, and like you said, we've been blessed with a lot in our lives. I was very fortunate because I had a college degree. I had a professional 6-figure income when I got divorced. So I think I'm one of the few that was fortunate enough to have a huge support system behind me. My own mother, who I think is an angel in human form, my sister, my brother-in-law, my friends and family. I had a tribe, an army of soul sisters who I call, you know, they're really literally like soul sisters, my friends who rallied around me when I was going through what I think was the lowest point in my life. And my own children. I think I took a great deal of strength from them and decided to sort of, you know, reinvent and, you know, took this opportunity to really do something that I felt passionately about. My professional background, all my life, the last 2 decades plus, I've been involved with project management, health IT, predominantly in the government contracting world. So I took a leap of faith, decided to, you know, do something, step outside of my comfort zone. And I left a 10-year career at Booz Allen Hamilton, where I'd been, and decided to, you know, join hands with you, Nyla, in this journey with Pillars for Dignity. And it's been a roller coaster since then. I'm so deeply grateful to you, our advisors, our angel investors who have helped us get to where we are so far. And this is sort of, you know, for me, a platform where we're able to give back to those who don't have as many, I think, opportunities that we did. And by that, I mean education. I think the key pillars to economic empowerment and financial independence are education and training. And it goes beyond that, having a social support system, the mental health resources, seeking therapy when you need to. And that's still very much a stigma in certain cultures, I know. And that's where I think we're trying to break that and really provide, I think, a comprehensive set of tools and opportunities for women, underserved, underrepresented. And we're covering the full gamut, as you know, Nyla. It's not just minority women. We are trying to target women who are coming out of abusive relationships, survivors of domestic violence and intimate partner violence, women veterans who come back after serving and really, you know, just getting their foot in the door of a job or adjusting to life as a civilian can be hugely daunting. And then not to mention the homeless women, mothers, young mothers who are pregnant and may not have the financial resources to continue their education. So that's where Pillars for Dignity comes in. And I know you've already shared a little bit about our programs, but we're making a lot of headway to build out our programs, provide training and tools, scholarship opportunities to the women I just mentioned. So I'm hoping this is my small way of giving back. And it's been a remarkable journey so far.
Farah, thank you. When women like you, the change makers, come forward to share your story, our heart fills up with gratitude. If you know that the strength of sisterhood, I think during my time, that is what made me survive and come out of the hurdles I was facing. But nowadays, like you said, going to therapy is acceptable. During our time, it was a taboo that we don't even mention.
Yes.
But coming from a discriminated society from a third world country, I also come from Bangladesh. Logically, when you see nothing is different over here, women do get scared to even mention the mental abuse and domestic violence they're going through. And I hope our platform gives them a voice, gives them the strength and trust to come forward and share their stories. And it is to help them come out and give them the confidence and dignity of going forward, that life goes on no matter what. And through us, hundreds of other women will come out to share their stories. Saying that, I would love to get your insight on why dignity and why is it important, and why does access to financial independence mean so much for us now? Be it education or anything, end of the day, we have to have that access to finance for our acceptance in society or ourselves, or to even go forward. I would love your opinion on this.
Yes, no, thank you. And such an important question. And I'm super excited and super pumped to hear from other women as we explore their journeys down the line. For me, dignity ultimately meant peace of mind and self-respect. And for me, it meant having the confidence to be myself, to be authentic in how I feel, how I think, what I say, how I dress, how I am. And I think, you know, that was important for me when I faced a decision to end my marriage and to pursue sort of this next chapter of my life. I think it's important for my son to see that women can do anything. We can do hard things. We have so many challenges. I mean, just on a physical level, just, you know, childbirth, for instance, and then all the way to overcoming adversity and facing hardship. We can do anything. And I think for me, dignity meant being the best version of myself, and it's still evolving. I feel I'm not quite there yet, but I'm very close. I think Pillars for Dignity was part of this journey for me, not just to heal, but to give back, because I think personally, the highest form of grace is in giving and in helping others. And so that was what motivated me, my mother's story, my story, and your story. And so many of the women, absolutely, so many women I've heard firsthand, some of the other podcasts you've done, Naila, where we've heard from women firsthand, survivors of abuse, survivors of horrible things that have happened to them. I take strength and inspiration from those women. And with that, I've almost forgot, it really does, it takes a village. Like you said, this circle of sisterhood that is so strong that you and my mom may not have had 30 years ago. Without that sisterhood, that circle of trust, support, and love and strength from, you know, my family and friends, I couldn't have done what I did. So that's something very important. And going back to your question about access to finance, I think economic empowerment and financial independence is something you and I have seen firsthand, what it means when you come out of a marriage where you were perhaps dependent on your spouse for multiple reasons. I'm not, you know, blaming anyone or anything like that here, but for multiple reasons, we were sort of in a position where we weren't as financially independent. We were so sort of used to certain things of our lives being managed, whether it was paying the bills, what was coming in and out, not having all the transparency into the finances. And when you come out of that and then step out of your comfort zone and decide to sort of take control, it's an incredible high. At least it was for me. And one funny experience was I went with my mom to our local Costco. I got my first Costco card. And for me, that was just such a liberating experience. I was like, wow. and that's no one's fault. It's just, you know, for the first time in my life, I had my own Costco card, you know, and that sense of liberation and excitement, because I'm a huge Costco fan, was just on another level. And then finally, you know, being able to manage my finances. And of course I had help. I couldn't have done it by myself because it takes a village, but getting to that point where I was able to pay down my debt, pay off a credit card, and then finally, transfer things into my own name where I'm managing things, and my children see that. So I think, it goes down to this, that when money flows into the hands of women who have the authority to use it, I think everything changes. The impact it has on not just me as a woman, but my children, the family, and the community at large. So I think going back, I think financial independence is paramount. I think when you're financially independent, you can live life on your own terms. I think that's what it comes down to. Yeah,
absolutely.
I saw my mom break barriers and do it herself. She worked 2 jobs when I was in college. I worked 2 jobs when I was in college. And we were never rich, but she lived a life with dignity and self-respect. And that is something that money cannot buy.
True, absolutely, absolutely. These are very valuable points as we go forward. Even when women are, I would say, economically, they can manage themselves, still the taboos of the social burden norms keeps you tied to many unpleasant situations where hopefully, while we talk through, we give strength to women to understand what dignity is and to be supportive of them in any way we can to make people's life happier and more peaceful. Because out of this unhappiness at times triggers off a lot of health issues, which are quite linked to each other if you logically see. But Farah, like you said about the star being aligned, if I was on my own, I don't think I would have done anything else. So I'm very grateful to the universe that we've come together to give back. And I always feel the luxury of giving back. We don't realize you have to be blessed to be able to give back.
Yes.
It is a luxury to be standing and saying that no matter what, I'll give back. And that is that growth itself inside is so, I would say, self-healing for us.
It's so true. I think my favorite Gandhi quote, I mean, there are so many, I'm a little partial, but be the change you want to see in the world. And I think that's exactly what you and I are doing in our journey with Pillars for Dignity. I think it starts very small, but the trickle effect downstream, one life gets impacted. And then in turn, that woman's life, her children, her family, her community gets impacted. And then multiply that by 10, and then by 100, by 1,000. So we're really, really hoping to do some good things here.
Yeah, deeply grateful. And honestly, the work we are doing and the work we intend to do and accomplish, the actions behind it, will get a lot of ripple effect and acknowledgement. And that is because biologically, if you see, we are transforming lives, you are transforming lives, right? And I would say your story and the will to change from where it was to where you've come sort of inspires many, even me, when I hear from where you were to where. I'm so proud of what you have become. And your conviction and determination and resilience, it gives so much strength inside another woman. Till we speak about it, we don't even realize about it, right?
Yes.
And at this point, I would like to ask you that what message would you give to our listeners and viewers of, what would you give to your younger self if you had a choice? And what would you give to our other women and girls?
I think fundamentally, the biggest lesson for me, and I try to live by this now, I try to instill that in my 11-year-old, 11 going on 21, but is let your own light shine. I went to a girls' grammar school in Australia, and that somehow stuck with me. Luceat lux vestra, in Latin, it means literally let your light shine. Let your own light shine, be authentic. You do you. I had some of my best friends, when I was going through what I went through, they said, you do you. Don't worry about what people say or think, how they judge you. Just go out there and be comfortable and confident in who you are. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do unapologetically, with grace and courage. And sometimes, yes, you have to sort of step out of the comfort zone. It's not easy. I'm not saying it will be.
Never easy. It's
never easy. but you can do it. And I think that's my message to young girls and women who are in situations where they feel that they're stuck or they need help or assistance. Please reach out for viewers that are watching this. If you know of anyone that does need help, whether it's access to mental health resources or financial assistance or aid, training and education. I know, Nyla and I speak on behalf of all of us here at Pillars for Dignity that we are a platform to help you realize your best self. And ultimately, that's what my message is. Let your light shine and live a life with dignity and self-respect.
Thank you, Farah. Farah, honestly, it has given me certain in-depth information about you, which I didn't know also while talking. And likewise, I'm sure it'll give strength to many other listeners who are listening today. And I would like to say it's a breath of fresh air when we listen to women leaders like you to talk through the challenges, because it's never comfortable. It's uncomfortable to talk about what has only we know. It hits your ego, it hits your dignity to even talk about it, but that's what we have to do to heal in the true sense. And I hope this podcast gives listeners the space to learn and be encouraged to come forward. And we want our podcast, and we are committed to bring in new voices and bring in women change makers, global leaders, rising leaders. Our goal is to keep revealing and disclosing stories beyond borders, to raise awareness and women empowerment, equity, diversity, and inclusion through our topics, keeping our vision and view and in line with the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goal. And for the viewers and listeners and for all of us, if we see our logo, you see how much we are inspired by Lotus. So it's my favorite quote about Lotus. I always say, just like the lotus, we too have the ability to rise from the mud, bloom out of the darkness, and radiate into the world. And to repeat again about our whole podcast of series, which is just about to begin, I would request everyone to keep a watch on our social media, where to tune in. It should be iTunes, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcast. And if you want to nominate speakers or reach out to us, kindly email to info@pillarsfordignity.org. And for every listener, know that we care about you, we love you, so stay safe during the pandemic. Remember, together we are stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Nyla.